Hello there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Laura and this is episode 29 of the Knitting Pickle Podcast. I am a knitwear designer based in the UK and I also make content for the internet here on YouTube and now on Patreon. If you want to know more about Patreon, please feel free to go and catch the first 10 minutes of episode 27 where I go into details. I'm not going to go into it all again now, but just a quick thank you to everyone who has already signed up to the Patreon. Honestly, I was blown away by the response. I'm so glad I did it because I'm so far really enjoying it. There is already a vlog available on Patreon for my Maximum Cozy members. So if you're considering joining, then please do. But for now, we're back here on YouTube with another podcast and it feels like yesterday. Normally I'm like, it's been ages since I filmed, but it literally feels like yesterday. I think it was last week or the week before. But I hadn't podcast for a while and I had quite a lot to share. But I've also realised that I missed a project, and over the past week my husband has been away, so it's been a very prolific knitting week. So I've got new things to show you. In fact, yeah, this is all stuff, some things that you might have seen, but it's mainly new stuff. But the main reason I'm back is because I have a special surprise for you guys. I have already revealed this information, so if you're on my Instagram or you saw my short, if I did a short, I might have not done one. But I did announce this a few days ago, but it's officially live today, which is also weird because I'm filming this in advance, because when this thing goes live, I'll be on holiday. So yeah, it's always a bit weird talking in the future, but when you're watching this, I will have released a new pattern and it was a secret. And it's been so hard to keep it a secret. Before we get into that, I thought I would share what I'm wearing because I got one out the vault. I've not got any new finished objects to wear. And I've not really done any summer knitting this year, apart from one of the things you're about to see. But I kind of don't class it as summer knitting. So I thought I'd bring something out the vault and I thought I would show you my sea glass tee. I bought this out because every time I see Sophie the Knit Pill Girl wear her Farnham tee or her Farnham sweater, it's this same kind of white background, thin navy stripe. I'm like, oh, I need to make one. I need to make one in that colourway. I really like that kind of vibe. And then I suddenly thought, hang on a minute. I've got my sea glass tee, which is something I knit 2 years ago. I actually test knit this. It's designed by lovely Hannah of Herb Garden Knitwear, and it's just this most beautiful drop shoulder stripy wide necked summer t-shirt, and it has this really beautiful detail on the sleeves and on the hem. I'm not gonna, so shall I stand up to show you? I don't know. There you go. That's nice, isn't it? Look at that. Phone, you're doing well today. It's got this lovely ribbed shell design on the trimmings, and I'm not really a lace person. There are very few instances where I like lace because normally it's just too fussy for me and it's too overwhelming for the eyes for me. The only lace things I've knit that I've enjoyed is I had my Chunky Dahlia, which has got the lace yoke, but I haven't worn that for ages, but that's more because of the yarn rather than the actual sweater. And I made my sister a Magnolia Bloom, which is beautiful. And I also have a Mary cardigan by Tricot Alice Hammer Tricot. Which has kind of got more like this, more kind of ribbed, and it's got some eyelets and some bobbles and stuff, but yeah, I'm quite picky when it comes to lace, but this is just kind of the thing that I like. It's very simple, it's very effective, it's also quite graphic rather than full of holes. I'm not so keen on things with holes. It's knit bottom up as the sleeves are, and they're grafted on afterwards. And one of the amazing things about this pattern and all of Hannah's patterns is they're incredibly size inclusive, and this one is kind of build your own size. So you pick your bust circumference depending on how much ease and stuff you want, and then she gives you full instructions on how to do the yoke to get the arm circumference that you would like. So the two are separate. So if you're someone whose arm circumference isn't within the average realm compared to bust circumference, my arm circumference is larger than average for my bust circumference. So I do sometimes struggle with arms, but it is something I can change quite easily. But if you're not confident making your own alterations, this pattern is fantastic for guiding you through it and kind of teaching you how to do it as well. So it's fantastic. So I highly recommend. I knit mine in Drops Bell, which is really, really affordable linen, cotton and viscose blend yarn. It's very, very similar to Sanna's Garn Lena, and they're basically the same composition, but this one's a little bit cheaper. And yeah, it's gorgeous. I love it. I can't believe I forgot that I owned it. It is still quite warm, I think, because this gauge is quite a thick gauge. It's like a DK, maybe a little bit heavier. I still probably wouldn't wear it on a boiling hot day. And if I did, I'd need shorts or something with it. But it's definitely something that I would call transitional, lovely for spring and autumn as well. And I think it's really on trend at the moment, this kind of stripe, and just stripes in general are like the thing this year, right? It's all about the stripes. So that's what I'm wearing. I will link it below, and everything I talk about today will be linked below. But if I do forget anything, just give me a shout, just leave a little comment and I'll try and get back to you. But on to the main event. Let's talk about the reason I'm podcasting today and why I'm so excited to finally share it. For those of you who have been with me for a little while, you all know that over the past few months I've taken a little bit of a break from designing because I got a bit overwhelmed with it, if I'm honest, and I started to not enjoy it. I started to dread a lot of the different parts of it, and I just didn't want to do it, and I just wanted to stop. And I wanted a project that was completely mindless, that was nothing, no garments, nothing difficult. And I cast on a prison blanket by Pearl Soho, but quickly realised I didn't like the construction. It wasn't giving me that mindless, it was a bit fiddly. The triangles were also quite big and I was getting bored of them quite quickly. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to make my own blanket in this style, but with a completely different construction in a way that I enjoy doing, and much more triangles, so I get that satisfaction factor a little bit more. And my blanket was born, and I shared it with you guys, and so many of you were like, I love it, it's great, oh my god, it's so cute, how do you do it? And I did kind of share approximately how to do it in a podcast, but I had absolutely no intention of writing it up, no intention of making it a pattern. It was my relaxing thing, it was my break from designing. But the more I worked on it, the more I was like, I want to write this up, I want to write it up. And it came from me. It didn't come from pressure from anyone else, it completely came from me. And it's also another reason why I kept it a secret, because I didn't want any kind of external influence on me that was making me feel like I had to do it, or had to do it by a certain point. So I decided to keep it a secret. But I have written the pattern, and it's in secret testing for I think about 2 months actually. Obviously I wasn't expecting my testers to knit a whole blanket, but you don't need to knit a whole blanket. They just had like a minimum squares amount, so they've been working away on that and sharing their progress with me, and you should be able to see all their progress now as well, because they're allowed to share their projects. But without further ado, I would like to formally introduce you to the Sweet Shop blanket. Here she is. It's going to be so hard to show you. It's pretty big now. My goodness. I will try and do some either cutaways or pictures or something of it. It's really hard to take pictures of blankets. My God, it's really hard. But here she is, the Sweet Shop blanket. I called it the Sweet Shop blanket because I was very fortunate, and a few of my online knitting friends sent me their spare mini skeins, because I massively underestimated how much yarn a blanket takes, and I just didn't have enough like different mini skeins basically. I have used colours more than once in this. I don't know how easy that is to say. But yeah, and when all this yarn arrived, I suddenly had this like box full of just beautiful colourful yarn, and I just kept thinking, oh, it's like a kid in a sweet shop, or like a child in a candy store, wherever you're from. But for me it's sweet shop, just like when you go to that pick and mix and you've got all the different things, and it's like, oh my gosh, which one am I going to choose, and I can have as much as I want, and it's like, oh, it just brought back that feeling. Every time I chose a colour to put onto the blanket, it was like kid in a sweet shop. So that's why I called it the Sweet Shop blanket. And this is the lap square size. So I can't remember the exact actual dimensions. I think it's 33 by 44 inches. No, 33 by 33 inches. I think, can't remember, I'll put it on the screen. But there are lots of sizes in the pattern. There is baby/pet blanket. This is lap blanket, but I also think it's more like a kid blanket. This was intended for my daughter for her bedroom, based on one of her rugs that's in there. And I mean, yeah, it's hard to show you the size, but it's a big old square, and it is the perfect lap blanket for when you're sitting on the sofa, or perfect for a child to get snuggy and buggy under. There are two different lap shapes. There's square or there's rectangular, and then there's also information on doing like a throw size, like a big boy, and that's like 99 squares. This is 49 squares, and the throw size is like 99 squares. I do intend to make this bigger eventually. And one of the things I wanted to incorporate into this blanket was the ability to finish it, but then add to it in the future if you wanted to. So to do that, I have incorporated instructions on how to make a beautifully neat edge and beautifully neat joins. So bear with. So yeah, hopefully you can see that it's just a beautiful, smooth, gorgeous edge, so that in the future, if I want to add squares onto it, I can, but I don't have to like finish it and be like, then that's it, it's done. In the pattern, there's also instructions for adding an I-cord edging. If you are like, this is done, this is finished, but I just want to elevate that finish a tiny bit more, there's full instructions on that. But it's also really easy to find instructions for an applied I-cord edging, plus most people have the way they prefer to do it. So I am hoping to add to this in the future, but if I waited until it was throw size, then the pattern wouldn't come out till like next year, year after, and I think it's big enough to really show. Another reason I wanted to make it this size is because within the pattern there is loads of advice and guidance on using your advent calendars. As the more I made of this, the more I was like, this needs to be an advent pattern as well. Yes, you can have one, baby girl. Funnily enough, speaking of sweet shop blanket, I took the kids for their first pick and mix experience today. I've been promising them all summer long pick and mix, and today we had to do so many errands in town. I had to get Penny her school shoes, which is why she's in her school uniform. She's like, I must wear my uniform if I'm getting my new school shoes. And we had to pick up some shirts for my husband. I had to nip into a cake shop for Jeff's birthday cake. Loads of like in and out of shops, and that's the kind of thing I really struggle to do with kids, and they find really boring too. So I was like, right, okay, it's pick and mix day. Let's say, you know, good behaviour, and we can go pick and mix. And they were great, and they deserve it. So they've also very much been briefed that they're not eating it all at once. So here we go. What did I get to? Advents. I wanted to make sure this blanket was suitable for Advents. And when I was constructing the triangles, the reason they are the size and shape that they are is because each triangle is tricky, because each section is treated as a square. Like this is the square, and you do half in one colour, half in another colour. But each triangle is just under 10 grams of yarn. So, and for me, I used fingering weight held double, though some of them are DK. I have got 1 or 2 DKs in here, but I used fingering weight mini skeins held double because that's what they tend to be from advent calendars, right? And by making this exactly 10 grams, you often get 10 gram mini skeins, but you also get 20 gram mini skeins. So you can get 2 triangles out of each colour. And then obviously you've got your main colour as well, which you need to add in. So if you have a 24 skein advent calendars, you can get 48 triangles out of it if you use each colour twice. Hence why this one is 49 triangles. So you would need an extra mini skein in addition to your advent calendar, but the rectangle version uses exactly 48 triangles. So you can get a lap blanket out of your advent calendar with it, with an additional main colour. But there's loads of advice in the pattern. There's loads of advice on using scraps. There is also guidance on how to do it at a different gauge, because this is DK weight gauge, but I have had a tester do it in like worsted Aran weight gauge, and I think I've got a tester doing it in fingering weight gauge as well. So honestly, you can take the pattern and make any kind of size or weight blanket that you want. And like, that's the best thing about blankets, isn't it? You can just kind of look at what you've got, look at the yarn you want to use up, and then make it work for you. So there she is, my baby. I'm so pleased with it. And for me, after my little break from designing, it was a really nice, like, gentle way to step back into that world, to step back in a test knit. Obviously it was a secret test knit. I just contacted my testing pool to see if anyone was interested, and they've been so supportive and so lovely. And yeah, I can't believe it's finally happened. It's finally real, and I just love this project so much. It's very, very dear to my heart. So you can get the Sweet Shop blanket available on Ravelry right now. There is a discount code for the first week of release. You can get 10% off the Sweet Shop blanket on Ravelry and my website using the code Sweet Shop. And if you are a patron of mine, you will have a little extra discount as well. So, and breathe. Where's my coffee? Goodness. So let's move on to some other whips. I've got 3 other whips here to show you, one of which is going to get pulled out. And I wanted to show you it before I pulled it out quickly, because I didn't show this in the last episode, but it's something I was working on in Vlogmas in July. And it's just not going to happen. I'm wondering if you can guess what it's going to be, because I don't think I'm the only one in this situation right now. But I think I'm allowed to show these now. I don't think we're in spoiler territory anymore. But during July, I worked on the Stephen West MCal Contrast Blast socks. And I enjoyed these socks up to about here. I really enjoyed the leg. I really enjoyed the heel. But as soon as we got to the gusset, one, I hate the gusset section of socks anyway. I rarely do heel flap and gusset. I get so bored with it. I don't know why. So I was off to a bad start anyway, but I found this section very physically challenging on my hands. And at this point, if I'm completely honest with you, I was starting to get a bit bored, starting to find it a bit repetitive, because obviously this bit is the same as this bit up here. And even this section in the middle is still kind of in the same vein as this. It's just purled. So when I got to the foot and realised that we were doing this all over again, I was just like, no, I can't be bothered. I was really hoping the foot would be something new again. So I'm just going to rip these out. And I know I'm so close. I know I could just probably spend a few hours and finish the foot, but honestly, I don't want to, so I'm not gonna. And I also want to use the yarn for something else. This is Folkestone Harbour Yarns in Fluoro Pink, which I'm using a little bit of for my sister's socks for her birthday. I've got the other yarn here actually, holding these. This is the main colour of the sock, and this is just for the heel, and a colour pop on the cuff. You right, sweetie pie? Come on, missus.
Look at my hair.
Yeah, crazy. Go on then. Thank you, darling. And the other colour that I was using in them is this guy, which is Winter Stroll by Truly Yarns, and they're both just like standard sock yarns. And I move on to this yarn because I'm using it for another project. So yeah, I just thought I'd quickly show you these guys. I know they're old news now, and I think I'm learning that even though I really want it to be me, the MCals are just not me. I really enjoyed shawlography. That was my kind of thing. I loved trying to keep up with the clues. I loved that every single clue was different. I loved the look of the finished piece. I made my shawlography to give to my grandma as a present. And I love that it's going to be like a family heirloom, because obviously eventually it will come back to me, and then I'll pass it on and I'll pass it on and stuff. So I love the shawlography. Didn't enjoy twists and turns. I stopped that halfway through and ripped it out, and actually this was originally for my twists and turns, so this is now on its 3rd project, this yarn. And again, I just lost steam with it and didn't like how it finished off, and it's just, yeah, I think it's not for me. I'm not going to be doing the shawl cowl this year. But yeah, so that's what happened to my socks. Oh, I just tried to drink Penny's cup of pickle mix. Hang on. So, what am I making with the yarn, you ask? Well, I frivolously cast on a new project, not last night, but the night before. As I mentioned, I've had a very, very knit heavy week. I've done a lot of knitting. I've been working on my Moby sweater. I haven't joined at the underarm yet, so I didn't think I'd show you that because it doesn't really look that much difference, but I have been working on it. I've been working on my sibling sweater, my size, which is now in the round on the body, and I'm just adding a stripe to it every now and then. Speaking of which, the sibling sweater, my size, is now officially in testing, which is super excited. I couldn't believe it. I managed to fill every single slot, even the highest sizes, which can be really, really difficult. So thank you to everyone who applied to test the sibling sweater my size. I'm sorry I can't choose everyone. Honestly, the number of slots to applicants, it's normally like there's only 10% of slots compared to the people who apply. So the chances of you being chosen are very small, not because you're not good enough, it's because I just can't choose everyone basically, and everyone's fantastic. But yes, thank you to everyone who applied. I can't believe all the spaces are filled and the test has officially started. I've got lots of new people, which is really, really exciting. The biggest thing that I got stuck in my brain on when it came to the designing process was the test knitting, and mainly the test call. I'd already shifted into kind of more private test knits, in which I've got like a group of people who have tested for me before, who I would contact and say, would you like to test for me again? Like, and they would apply if they wanted to, or not if they're not. But I was getting to a point where I needed to bring some new life into that test pool, because if you have people testing for you over and over again, they can get used to your writing style and miss things. So it's important to have new people in. Also, like, I wasn't filling every size every time, so I'm really excited to have some new people. And that was very triggering for me not too long ago, because I was overwhelmed and I was not looking after myself properly. So any kind of social situation like a test knit is like the first thing to go. My social battery is the first thing to like run out when I'm feeling overwhelmed. So after a few months off and a few months working on myself and a few months of therapy, I'm back in a space where I can handle it, and I'm actually really excited. I've not felt any anxiety, any kind of negative feelings about it so far. So yay, woohoo, very exciting. But yeah, so I've been working on the sibling sweater a little bit, and I'm probably going to take that on a holiday with me. We're going to Norfolk next week. But I realised that everything I was working on was either for someone else or it was like a work project. Yes, I will be able to physically wear my sibling sweater. Yes, I get to use my blanket, but they're like work projects, and they definitely have a different vibe to them. They're still enjoyable, they're still nice, but there's just that little bit of I've got to do this attached to the project. And I needed something that was a complete pleasure project for me, for nobody else, just for me. And I have been wanting to make like a tank top for quite a while, but I was always saying, no, I need to do this first, I need to do that first, I need to be working on this design, I need to be working on that, but no more of that. I want to work on something, so I'm going to do it. And I was heavily inspired by two creators when it came to choosing this design. The design is the mini mock neck tank by Jessie Made Designs, and I had seen it on Melissa of String Things by Mel. Melissa is testing their sibling sweater, which is really exciting, so I've not worked with her before, but I really enjoy her content. And she made a green one, and I just thought it looked fantastic. She made quite a cropped one. I'm hoping mine's going to be a little bit longer, so it's a little bit more versatile for me. But message is saying, how long did it take you to make? What was it like? And she was like raving about it, and she said it was a really, really quick knit, even though it's fingering weight yarn. So I thought, yeah, do you know what? I'm just going to cast one on, and you know, there's no like rush. I can do some of it now, I can do some of it later. I thought it would be a really nice holiday project, especially once I've joined in the round. And then it's just like, yeah, knitting in the round or ribbing in the round. So I'm trying to get like the complicated fiddly front and back bit done before I go on holiday, which I have nearly done. And honestly, I've worked on this for 2 evenings, and I'm really, really surprised at the progress I've made. It's not going to look like much. I'll do my best to show you. But this, it also looks teeny, but obviously there is negative ease in this. So this is what I've got so far. This will be my first fingering weight. No, it's not. I've got a fingering weight cami, but I don't really wear it. here you go. So there's the back piece. This has already like blown my mind with its construction and shaping, the teeny little details. Like there's a very small amount of short row shaping just here on this bit, so that quite often the neckline will be straight along the back and then curved around the front, and you'll use short rows and stuff to raise the back and make it fit properly. But in this case, there's a little bit at the back just to take that flat edge round a bit at the corners. And when I was doing it, I was like, how is this going to work? What is this going to turn into? But now I see it, I'm just like, wow, that's fantastic. You can kind of see it's a little bit poofy right there, but obviously I've not blocked this yet. But yeah, amazing little detail, which I was really, really excited by. And hello? The neck shaping on the front as well, it's like a really beautiful gradual curve. And I mean, there's quite a lot to read in the pattern because the increase rates like change quite rapidly, but it's so quick. It's so satisfying, even for like a tiny gauge. I mean, it's 3.5mm needles. I didn't gauge swatch because I wasn't really that bothered about the gauge as long as I liked the fabric. And because it's negative ease, there's quite, you know, a lot of wiggle room in there. The recommended negative ease was 2 to 6.5 inches, and I'm making a size medium, which I think comes up as 31.5 inches, and I've got a 37-inch bust. So pretty bang on for a nice tightly fitting tank, which is what I want. I don't want positive ease, I want negative ease, I want it tight to my body. I wear a lot of kind of this style top anyway in the summer, usually ribbed, normally like that kind of like almost racer back kind of round type thing. I wear it all the time. I like the way it looks on my body. I like that it's tight because I quite often wear loose fitting bottoms because I hate tight things on my lower half of my body. So like loose fitting, like linen-y, muslin-y trousers or shorts or something like that, or something. I'm not really a skirt person sensory wise, it's just too much for me. But yeah, I like to have something on tight on the top to balance out the bottom. I also really like the top half of my body, so I'm like quite confident wearing something that's really tight to it. So I'm really hoping this will be a lovely fit. The gauge is a little bit looser than I thought it would be, but also I feel like this yarn is probably going to poof up a teeny tiny bit when I wash it. But also I don't mind that it's a looser gauge because that will make it a little bit cooler to wear. Obviously it's a tank top, but this is superwash merino, and who was talking about superwash merino and its temperature on the body? I think it was Mel from String Things by Mel in her latest podcast where she shares her finished one of these. I think she's even wearing it, but even though it's merino, it's like it feels cooler, and because the gauge is a bit more open, I think it will feel nicer. Was it Mel or was it? It might have been Jackie from Caddy Jacks. I'm not sure. Yeah. Speaking of which, I mentioned that there were two people who inspired me to make this project, and the other was Jackie from Caddy Jacks Knits. And in her latest episode, I think she made like 3 of them. And the main thing she was talking about was styling them and how to wear them. And I felt so inspired. She showed her 3 different ones with different outfit styles. She was tying a little scarf on the shoulder and talking about pops of colour. And I was just so inspired by the way she was thinking about the garment and how she could wear it. And I have finally got to a point in my life where I'm feeling a lot more adventurous with what I wear these days. I was very much stuck in a don't look at me kind of vibe when it came to my clothes. It was very much like as minimal as possible, like comfy as possible, and that's still very important to me, comfort. But I'm starting to get a little bit more playful and adventurous with the fashion I wear, because I care so much less about what other people think and I care less about how my body looks. So it's been really nice for me to get a little bit more excited about the things I'm wearing. And what I really liked about what Jackie was saying was how if you have a neutral, small, tight base thing like this, you can really have fun with what you put with it. And now I was really, really tempted to buy some more of this and make a bright neon pink one. And I might still, but I thought at the very least having this with like, my black linen trousers or just plain blue jeans, or maybe even some white jeans or cream jeans, and then just like maybe a little pink Sophie scarf, or I don't know, like a statement cardigan, or I've got like a bright, that orangey poppy red jacket where it's just like, yeah, just finding ways to bring that bit of fun to your outfit, and how something like this can be so versatile when you think of it in that way. I'm probably doing a really, really bad way of explaining this, but go and watch the latest episode of the Caddy Jacks Knits podcast, because she goes into great depth with it and it's fantastic. So yes, I'm hoping that this will be a staple, basic piece of my wardrobe. I thought I could wear it in the summer with floaty trousers or shorts, and I think it would be even better for the autumn, if I'm honest, because I like to be able to control my temperature, because temperature is something that affects me sensorily as well. I do not do well in heat whatsoever. I also have this thing where I need all of my body to be the same temperature. So if my feet or hands are hotter or colder than the rest of my body, it makes me extremely uncomfortable. So to be able to layer means I've got more control over my overall body temperature. I also have this black corduroy skirt from Lucy & Yak, which I'm really excited to wear this autumn. And I just thought, like, black tights, chunky black boots, this kind of knitted tank, like tucked in, like autumn vibes, am I right? And like a nice cardigan or jacket, or like denim jacket, or just, yeah, I'm just feeling it. I just think this will be a really fun, versatile piece. And I'm really excited by it. Yay! Oh, I am getting a bit warm now, actually. Right, I've got one more thing to show you. This feels like it's going to be quite a short episode for me, though probably normal length for most people. And yeah, I've got one more really exciting project to show you. This has not been shared publicly yet. It has been shared privately, but not publicly. And I've been waiting to share it publicly until the sweet shop was revealed, because it is kind of on the similar lines to the sweet shop. It's got a similar construction, but it's got quite a different vibe. And I'm so unbelievably excited by this. I've full on hardcore hyper focused on this, like to the point where like I didn't talk to my husband for like 4 hours because I was just like in there. But I have managed to claw myself out of the hyper focus now, but I have spent quite a few hours on this over the past few days, and I have written the pattern. I wrote it as I went, which is one of the best ways I find to work on something, because then if I do decide to stop and want to put it down for a little while, come back to it later, I'm not trying to like remember what I've done. I've got it all there in black and white, and I can just read it and remind myself. I've got my John Arbon jumper that I worked on a few months ago. I didn't write as I went. I made notes and I graded as I went, because I find if I make it in one size and then I realise I can't grade it for all sizes, then I'm like, well, so I grade as I go, but I haven't actually written the actual words. I'm a little bit like, oh God, am I going to remember how I physically did it? But I am going to make a second sample of that, so because I would like to change the neckline a little bit, so it'll be fine. But this one I've written along as I've gone, and I'm kind of basically testing my own pattern at the moment. It's not quite finished, but it's nearly finished. So I'm hoping there will be a test call for this very, very soon. Oh, I'm so excited. Oh my goodness. This is like so not me. This is very different to anything I've ever designed before. It's not a garment. It's not an accessory. We've got some more homeware, but it's not a blanket. It may well be a blanket in the future, probably will, but right now I'm having a little bit of a blanket break. But I have figured out in my mind how I will turn this into a blanket eventually. But for now, I would like to introduce you to working title, not official title, the Knit Quilt Cushion. Da, 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 da. Oh my gosh. I have had this idea for, a very, very, very long time. And almost as soon as I started the Sweet Shop blanket, I was like, this will work. This will work for like a quilt star, like a classic quilt star. And my brain was like ticking around as to how I could do it, how I'd orient it. And the Sweet Shop blanket is made up of, you've got like your base, your foundation square that you only make once, and then the other three, there's like 3 other ways you add a square, and they're the only ones you use for the whole blanket. Whereas this one has got 4 different ways to attach but they're kind of like the same but different orientations. It's hard to describe, but yeah. I'm turning it into a cushion cover. I made this kind of first sample just as an idea to see if it would work and if it would work for a blanket or whatever and that kind of thing, to see if I could just do it. And as soon as I finished this first square, I was like, cushion, this has to be a cushion. I'm so excited. So I'm going to turn it around and show you the back. I've only done half the back so far. I did all of this yesterday, and as you can see, it is bias garter. So what that means is it's not, instead of going across like this, which would make it very saggy, you could have it going vertically, I suppose, but still you probably get quite a lot of sag. By doing the garter stitch on the bias, so diagonally, it makes it a lot stronger. And also all of the triangles on the front are on the bias, but they're in like different biases, if that makes sense. It's like these all go in that direction and then the next row all goes in that direction. It's really hard to explain, but when you're making it, it all makes sense. So I'm adding the backing, and I haven't fully decided how I'm going to close it yet. I think I'm probably going to just close this one up completely. So once I've come back up the other side, I will have an opening along the top to put my cushion in, and then I will graft it shut by sewing it shut, and then that'll be the bottom of the cushion. But I would also like to give an option for like a flap closure, which I have done before. I actually wrote a hot water bottle pattern earlier this year and then never did anything with it. So I'm thinking I might, release that at some point as well, because it just needs to be tested. I've already written it and there's no like grading in it, so it can go straight to test. And then so I might apply the same thing to here. So there would basically be like another piece of knitted fabric that goes across here that is attached on either side. So you can like open and put the cushion in and out, so you can then wash it. I probably would just do the normal closure myself, because you shouldn't ever really need to wash it. I think a knitted cushion cover is something you have to be quite mindful when you're making. It's not ever going to be a cushion that you should be using for support, so I wouldn't really be leaning on it, using it for my back, or lying my head on it or anything like that, because then like all the oils from your face and your skin would get on the cushion, and it would also like, I think it would eventually cause the knitted fabric to like grow and stretch, and you can always like shove a bit more stuffing in there or another cushion in it. I like to put 2 cushion inners in any of my pillows, so they're really thick and squishy and plush. But I would always suggest that a knitted cushion is like a decorative piece, and you like take it off the sofa when you're sitting on, or you take it off the bed when you're sitting on the bed. Like the cushions I have on my bed here, these are functional pillows because we lean on these all the time, but the cushions we have downstairs on our guest bedroom are very much like just visual, and then you take them off when you sleep. So I don't think if you're using it as a decorative piece, you shouldn't have to wash the cover. Obviously, something might happen. There might be an accident. It might get spilled on, in which case you could quite easily unpick your mattress stitch. If you just leave the end, like if you just tie it off and then weave the end through the pillow, you should be able to maybe find, I don't know. Or you could do buttons or something like that, but I'm getting a bit rambly now, so I'm probably just going to close this one. And then when I finish this sample, I'm going to do another sample in a DK weight. I forgot to say, this is Aran weight on 5mm needles, so it's actually like really quite quick and satisfying. Each square for me took between, depending on the square and the joining method, took between 30 and 40 minutes. And I thought, oh, we've got 12 contrast colour triangles here, and they each take about, half an hour, 40 minutes to do. What needs 12 different colours and a little bit of work every day? That's right, it's going to be another advent pattern. So I'm going to write this for DK weight as well, which will be my next sample, and I'm going to make it very much like the Sweet Shop blanket, in that each triangle you'll be able to use your mini skeins from your advent calendars. So if you have a 12 skein advent calendar, you can make 1 cushion, maybe even 2 if they're 20 grams. I'm going to try and get each triangle in under 10 grams. I think I should be able to. Looking at the size of the triangles here compared to here, the ones on the pillow are a bit smaller, so I should be able to make it so if you have a 12 skein advent calendar, you can get 2 pillows out of it, and if you have a 24 skein calendar, you could get 4 pillows out of it. Depends what you want to do. Or, you know, you could, let's say they're 10 grams each, you could, you know, you could do it so you've got like one colour in the middle and like these 2 are the same colour, these 2 are the same colour, or something like that. Basically, the world is your oyster, and there will probably be a colouring in sheet included in the pattern so that you can plan your colours and stuff. But I have a advent calendar from last year. It's the Woolly Mammoth Fibres advent calendar, and when it was a 12-day advent of this beautiful hand-dyed British wool, non-superwash, and I've not been sure what I wanted to do with it. I did start a pair of socks, but I chose to do 3 different colour stripes, and it was fiddly, and I'd forgotten what needle I used, and I was just like, no, I'm not going to finish these socks. So I'm going to use that advent calendar to make my second sample, and I think it's going to be absolutely stunning, and I'm very excited. So whichever closure I use for this one, I'll do the other closure for the DK weight pillow. And yeah, I would really obviously like to get this pattern out and ready before December, and honestly it should be a really, really quick one. Let's think, half an hour, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. It takes probably about 10 hours to do the front piece, and probably about the same to do the back piece, probably less because it's not quite so fiddly. So it's a 20-hour project overall, I think, maximum. So there should be easy to get this done before December. Plus I'm also really enjoying it. I shared it with my Sweet Shop secret test knit group, and they all went crazy for it, and a few have offered to test it already. So I may or may not do a public test call for this. To be honest, I don't really need many testers because it's like one size, one construction, one set of numbers. I probably only need 3 or 4 people to test it, so this probably will be a closed one, because to do a big public call to only choose 4 people, it's not worth the time and effort because it takes a long time to go through every application. So this will probably be a private one, but it will be a short one, so this will be available to buy hopefully in the next couple of weeks. We will see. Maybe a November release, I'm not too sure. I've got the Sweet Shop now in September, I've got the sibling in October, so it'd be nice to have this out for November, but as soon as it's ready I'll release it. So I'd love to know what you think of it, if it's something you think you'd make. I feel like it's quite niche, but I'm also like, if Petite Knit can do like plain cushion covers, why can't I? And this is anything but plain. This is so fun. So the DK weight that I'm going to make, it's going to be a white background again, but every single different square is going to be a different colour. Depending on how much yarn I use, I might make my inside one just one colour, or at least like same colour, and then like different colours all the way around. I'm not too sure. I'm going to get them all my mini skeins out and like map them out. But you could do like a dark pink in the middle and then light pinks all the way around. You could do just one colour like here, or you could get like a fade set and just like work your way across the pillow, and they like fade to different colours. I have got a fade set advent calendar this year, but I think I would like to use all of that yarn in one big project. But I've also got a neon advent calendar this year. How fun would be that? How fun would be that? How fun would that be? Dark background, neon triangles, like so modern, so fun, like amazing. I would also like to do one that's like not a white background, so maybe like pink and yellow, my daughter's favourite colours, and then she could have another cushion for her little reading tent. So yeah, I think the possibilities are endless, and you could really have some fun, and you could use up some old scraps as well. So there we go, that's everything I had to share for you this morning. How have I actually been talking? I'm not quite at an hour. That's good. I thought it was probably going to come in under an hour. But that's kind of everything I've got to chat about today. I'm not going to like wax on about like life and stuff, because I kind of did that in the last episode and we've had a bit of live chat through. I also don't have any recommendations for you today other than those I've already mentioned. String Things by Mel, Caddy Jack's Knits obviously, but I would love to really hear back from you guys this time. I like the name Knit Quilt Cushion. I feel like it's very obvious what it is and easily remembered, but I do still feel like there could be something a little bit more fun, a little bit different for this design. So if you have any name ideas for this, please let me know. Pop them in the comments. 2 more minutes.
Okay.
Love you. Bless them. And yeah, let me know what you think about the sweet shop. I'm kind of nervous to share it because it's like been a completely secret thing, though I'm hoping that those nerves will subside once I do like the announcement. I've made the cutest little reel to announce. Obviously, hopefully you may have seen it by now. But yeah, I had a very clear vision for the reel from the start. Also, check out the hashtag on Instagram to see all my lovely testers versions. There's some beautiful, beautiful versions. My friend Anna has done like a green and brown one. It's very autumnal. It's beautiful. But yeah, I think that's where we're at. Thank you for joining me yet again. Like, I think you're going to be seeing quite a lot of me, to be honest, over the next couple of months. I'm hoping this is not just like a big motivational phase and then I'll like fall out of it again and not want to do anything for weeks. But if that happens, it happens. We'll deal with it. But with the kids going back to school in September, I'm really, really excited to focus more on myself and my business and my work now. Like, I'm looking forward to having a very clear routine. I'm looking forward to doing lots more planning. I've already planned out my September. I'm really quite surprised at myself. Like, I've planned out all the projects that I've got on, all my admin tasks I need to do, all my fun projects I want to do. And for the first time in my life, has not sucked away the motivation. It's actually got me excited to get cracking, and I have actually already started on my September to-do list. Look at me, guys. I'm a grown-up. Honestly, I'm really starting to feel like a grown-up. I've been at home on my own for 3 days without my husband, and the dishwasher's been put on every night. So yeah, you can expect to see quite a bit more of me around the corner now. Whilst we're on that note, I also just wanted to clear up one more little thing about the Patreon, because I had quite a few people saying that they were a little bit sad that they weren't going to be seeing as much content on here and that they couldn't afford to join, so they were going to be missing out. And I don't think I made myself very clear because I was so excited when I shared it. But the Patreon is in addition to YouTube. So I did mention this, but the podcast will always be here. Vlogmases will always be here, and there will be other videos on top. I will still share vlogs on YouTube occasionally, but they're probably just going to be a little bit more knitting focused. The kind of family, kids, life, that more relaxed kind of thing, it's going to be more on Patreon, just because, you know, I'm feeling less comfortable sharing so much about my life just like freely on the internet. So I wanted to kind of, you know, protect myself a little bit more with that. But kind of just like vlogs and stuff, there will still be here on this channel. My aim, not set in stone. There will be 2 Patreon videos a month. There will always be a podcast every month, and then hopefully, if I can, an additional video on YouTube. So that's 4 videos a month, effectively 1 a week. I think I can handle that workload, especially now that I'm not letting the designing like take over. I am more than comfortable having 1 garment at a time. I think the thing for me that really kind of started to destroy my relationship with designing was trying to do too many garments at once. I just don't enjoy it as much. I've got so many garments on the go at the moment that I'm excited to work on, but 1 at a time. That's all I need to do. Yeah, I'd love to be the next Petite Knit, smashing out 12 patterns a year plus, but that's just not me. So I'm going to focus on 1 garment at a time, and then maybe 1 other project like a blanket or an accessory or a cushion cover, or maybe not. Maybe I'll not constantly have a design on the go. But I just think like finding that balance and accepting the fact that I love the designing, but I don't want it to like ruin my craft is really, really important. So yeah, that's where I am. Look at that. We did end up having a little bit of lively chat after all. But anyway, let's close this up now. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you in advance for all your love and support. I really hope you like the Sweet Shop blanket, and I can't wait to see all your guys' versions. And don't forget, if you want the pattern, get it while it's on sale, because I don't think there will be another public sale again now until probably December. I tend to do like a little Christmas sale. So if you want it, get it now. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time. Ta-ta!